All right, picture this. Your 14-year-old daughter is standing in the middle of a couple of 16-year-olds, and they are looking at her literally from head to toe, spinning her around, assessing her body, and making loud comments about her weight, her shape, and everything about her. This was me when I was 14, right? And I'm going to tell you all about the very first time that I became conscious of my weight and body. Welcome to my channel. My name is Damilola Badiogudepe. I'm a fitness communicator, coach, and a mom of two. And here we talk everything fitness, everything motherhood, and beauty that runs way past skin deep. I want us to quickly watch a video I found on the internet that I have found very interesting and fascinating. If you're a millennial like me, right, you grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, 80s and all, you will recognize some of the people in this clip. And I'm showing you because it's going to show a foundation of why things like this happened and we thought they were normal. Let's watch.
On TV, you are a little fuller, a little bit more thicker. And how do you feel about the fact that maybe the thickness may hinder you from, getting certain parts and doing certain things?
I give you a 9 for your face. Your body, your face and your personality make up for that extra 7 to 10 pounds you could probably get rid of.
You sound nice but look like a shop girl. That's the problem.
I'm overweight,
You
basically.
are. You really are.
I'm working on it.
The way you dress and stuff, I don't think you're aware that you're a heavy-set woman. That's what I said.
I know I'm a big woman, so what?
So I was guessing your weight. And I was going to say to you today, can you please get on the scale and then we'll have an over-under. That's all.
Is your weight back to normal?
Yeah, it is.
Can I check? Do you mind?
Oh no, you did
come
this to
on.
Jerry, didn't you?
Come on.
No, but Jerry was like really small.
Yeah, but it's all right.
This is horrible.
Photo's really beautiful, Kenya, but I hate to say it. They had to do a lot of body work on you and retouch. At home, pretty much, I try to, eat right. And we come here, my metabolic, everything is thrown off.
Stop! If you're sporting a gut, then you turn to the side and disguise it.
I think it's all about choices, Kenya. You can get a burger and take the bread off. I make it work when I have to.
All right. If you're like me, after watching that, in fact, I watched it more than once, right? I watched it more than once because it brought back so many memories. I mean, again, if you're a kid of that time, you recognize Nicole Richie, you recognize Tyra Banks, you recognize Anna Nicole Smith, God rest her soul and all, right? When we were growing up, and I know it's still prevalent nowadays, but I'm not sure that it was as bad as when we were growing up, right? Where body shaming was literally a culture, where it seemed okay, right, to talk to somebody about their weight, openly, publicly, to pass comments and all that. Again, I know it still happens, but man, it was the time. So let me go back to my story, and then we're going to link all this up to, us just being very aware about our kids, because my passion for this is for the kids, right? Our children, our daughters that are growing up, they don't need to experience what we experienced. And the thing is that for a lot of us, we didn't really think about it as anything. I mean, this particular experience I'm talking about for myself, I didn't think anything about it at the time. It wasn't until later that I was like, gosh, this actually played a big part, in me going on that crash diet that I did when I finished with secondary school. If you've watched my previous video about my not E true origin story, then you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so this experience, I was in SS1 over here, that is in high school. I don't know how to translate it if I start to count the years. Anyway, but I was 14, right? And in my school, it was a boarding school, and it was a girls only boarding school. And so we had all sorts of activities just to keep ourselves occupied and all that, right? And there was this particular one called Miss Corridor. So basically in our dorms, we had like these long corridors that stretched and all the rooms were off them, right? And so Miss Corridor was kind of like a fashion parade, a beauty contest, so to speak, right? Where different houses, so we had different houses, we all belonged in different houses. So depending on the house you were, the houseware, that's the color you wear. So I was in purple, which was Hadija. So we had others that were the green check uniform, brown. Anyway, so it was a competition that all the houses will bring forth their prettiest girls, and we will have a competition, and there will be a judge who will say who's prettiest, who is whatever and everything. Now, keep in mind, again, Tyra Banks, right? Our thought of models at that point in time were like the Tyra Banks, the Naomi Campbells and all that. So of course, the first criteria had to be that you had to be tall. And I'm tall. I've always been tall, right? So they were going around thinking about looking for people to pick, and it's usually the younger girls. So there's SS1, SS2, SS3. So the SS2 and SS3 girls will go around to pick who was going to represent the house. It didn't even occur to me. Look, I've always never, if there's anything like that, been interested in fashion parade, beauty, all those things have never really interested me like that. Let's be honest, I've never really been interested. I was more of a tomboy. I was more interested in music, in books, and all that, right? Like, even till now, I don't own powder. I don't own foundation, right? Like, I've not for years. It's not something that has ever really interested me. So one day I was there, and keep in mind, let me add this too. This was boarding school, right? There was a lot of bullying going on. The power dynamics at this point in time is like, okay, the older girls are all in charge, right? And we younger girls, we just came in so they could send you an errand, they could terrorize you, basically, they could do stuff to you. So they had power. So they called me. Somebody just said a bunch of seniors were calling me. I was surprised because I'm not the type to get into trouble. Like, I'm very laid back. I just do my thing and go my way. So I was called, and there they were. Some were lounging in their underwear. A very vivid memory. Some were tying their towels. I mean, it's a girls' hostel, so yeah. And everybody was there. And next thing, they called me to come into the corner of that senior. So corner, the room is divided. If you went to boarding school, you know exactly what I mean. But if you didn't, we all had bunks with some spaces where you and your bunkmate could, identify as your corner and all that. Anyway, so I went into the seniors corner, and the like 5 seniors were there, and then they just said I should stand, and then they started looking at me. So I was really weirded out. I was like, what is going on? Like, what is going on here? And so those girls looked at me, and then they told me to turn around, and someone lifted my hand, one went around me, and I was really wondering, like, this is very strange. Like, what are these girls doing? And so anyway, they started talking about themselves. Oh, she's pretty. Amongst themselves, she's pretty, she's tall, then one said, but she needs to lose weight. I had never heard that phrase before. I was a 14-year-old coming from a home where my mom would always tell you that you're beautiful. She would even seem surprised if you ever doubt it. Do you understand? She would seem surprised. I was coming from a family where weight wasn't a factor. In fact, I had never heard the term weight. I'm telling you, till that point in time. Bodies were not talked about. It wasn't anything, right? I mean, like I said in my previous video, I've always been taller than everybody and a bit bigger because of growth sprout, right? Like, and my nickname was Biggie in the same school. So it wasn't until I came to boarding school that I became that body conscious. But anyway, this was the first time I heard weight. So one of them now said, but she needs to lose weight. And then I didn't understand what that meant, really and truly. Then they started talking, yes, she's a bit fat, her cheeks are a bit, blah, blah. Then they just turned to me and were like, okay, we want you to represent us for the Miss Corridor competition. It's in maybe 4 weeks' time or something. But can you lose weight before then? Now, I'm just starting to grasp and understand what losing weight means, yeah? But I wanted to get out from the midst of them. Because again, imagine it, a 14-year-old amongst these girls, and they are talking and dissecting her and all that. And, I just wanted to get out. Like, I was like, yes, I can. And then they said, okay, I should go, that they will talk to me later. I left there just glad I had escaped, right? I had escaped anybody asking me to fetch a bucket of water or anybody asking me for any weird requests and all that, right? Like, I just left, and I said, I didn't really think about that event. I didn't really give it much thought until I was older, and I started becoming more aware of, the culture around women's bodies, around people's bodies, about weight, about, food and exercise and stuff. Because again, remember, it was not part of my reality. But it wasn't until I started becoming aware of that I reflected on that event, and I realized that it set a foundation of a sort of insecurity in me and my body and all that, right? And when we think about these things, again, remember that my heart on this is usually about children, we are adults, right? We are adults. Our minds, I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect us. It doesn't mean that, it doesn't play a part in how we think about how we feel and how we look and all that. But I'm usually so passionate about children, our daughters, our nieces and nephews, our goddaughters, right? About how they perceive their body, because it can go such a long way in shaping how you feel about yourself generally, how you interact with life, right? How you interact with people, your identity, because we as women face it from the beginning, right? A lot is based on how we look, whether we are conscious of it or not, right? I have a young daughter right now. She's about to be 9. They watch YouTube videos, even though we're very particular about what they watch and everything. But there's still the consciousness, you now see she and her friends have said, oh, they want to do a beauty routine, they want to do a night routine, they have their toy makeup and all that, right? How we look at our appearance is a big part of our identity. But my goal with my daughter and with every little girl I come across and I'm able to speak into their lives is that all that is nice and all, but your identity does not lie on how you look. It's how you look is just a part of, you. Nobody had any directive from heaven that, okay, as I'm coming down to earth, Lord, I want this kind of nose, I want the skin color, I want this. We came how we were, and God made us in that way, right? But the world we live in, I mean, think about that video that we just watched, where women were being crushed and crucified, right? And brought down with people's words, comment. I mean, look at the people they were talking about. Look at that Spice Girl, Posh. Look at how skinny she was. And somebody was asking her on live TV to get on a scale, right? Look at that girl, that poor girl that Tyra Banks was talking to, and she was telling her that they had to retouch her photos. Look at how skinny and slim all those people are. And so all those people were those who were on screen at that time and were held up as ideals for how practically everybody should look. Because there's one thing I like to say, that we all get influenced whether we like it or not, right? Whether we know it or not, we all get influenced. It's just that the more self-aware we are, then the better we can choose our influences, yeah? To be positive ones and in the directions that we want to go, right? So these were the people on TV, these were the people in the magazines. I mean, social media was not a thing then. So what we had was InStyle, what we had was the Glamour, what we had was People magazine. And all these magazines were the ones telling you that you had to be skinny to be worthy of being considered beautiful. And who does not want to be considered beautiful, right? And all that. And for me personally, that time, and I won't go into details about my own journey, because again, I've spoken about it in another video, so you can check out that video. But that was a big root. That was a big root of my path on, with my body and weight loss and fitness, until I got to the part where I started to understand what it was and decided to do it for myself in a healthy way, which was what got me on the path of the job I'm doing right now, which is coaching, right? So I look at my daughter, I look at my niece, right? And I think about every time, what example do I want to set for them? Even for my son, because these affect guys also, right? And I think about it that I want to set an example of strength, of physical strength, of mental strength, of fortitude, right? To change the understanding of what beauty is. That's why on this channel, I'm like, we go beyond skin deep beauty, right? Change the perspective of what beauty is. And I'm happy when my kids, all the talk, if I show you all the Mother's Day cards that they've ever given me, they always have the word strong there. They always have the word strong, because from when they were little kids, I have highlighted that so much. What your body can do, thinking about their bodies. My goal is for my daughter, my nieces, all those girls, to think about their bodies in terms of how strong it is, to see strength as beauty, right? To think about their bodies as these powerful, beautiful things that God created to house their souls and their minds, which are the most important parts of them, right? To think about beauty as what they think of it as, right? All the outward appearance is fantastic, is nice. If you like makeup, hey, if you do this, that, but not to base their identity of how beautiful or how worthy they are based on somebody else's scale of measurement, based on what society says beauty is. And I think that's a foundation that we need to be very conscious of giving our children. And it has to start from us in the first place, thinking about how we talk about our bodies. Because our kids pick up from what they see us do, not what we preach, not what we talk about, right? And so if they are hearing us constantly talk about our bodies in a negative way, children subconsciously pick up ideals. I think one reason I wasn't damaged, so to speak, and I'm using the word damage, I'm not using it loosely, because I work with women all the time and I know the damage that has resulted from a lot of them, from the things that we're told about their bodies when they were younger. We think these things don't stick. They stick. And I credit my mom with me not, with those words, even though they were hurtful when people called me Biggie, or when people spoke about people's, maybe said, oh, I was big, I was huge. That was it. It was not even a matter of fat and all that. The reason it didn't sink in too much was I had a mom who, I don't even think she knew she was doing this. She always spoke like to my mom, all her children are beautiful and stunning, right? And that's what you heard all your life. And our children, we as moms, we are the first life givers into our children, right? Because we speak life into them. And that's the same way you can speak death in quote, right? So she spoke so much life into that part of me that those things didn't really sink in. They hurt, but they didn't really sink in to define my identity. But that's not the truth for a lot of people, right? So we have to think about how we speak about our bodies, how we talk about dieting, how we talk about exercise, and we'll do a whole new video on that about how our perception of these things affect kids. But I just wanted to do this video to just highlight that because recently also I saw, and I've done a full podcast on this. If you want to listen, I'll just put the link in the show notes here. I said show notes, I'm so used to podcasts. I'll put it in the link in the comments, right, where you can listen to it, where I went on a whole rant because a 15-year-old girl, a darling 15-year-old girl, daughter of a celebrity around here, she put this post on social media. I don't know what, I saw it on Instagram. Instagram is the only social media I can use that I use. Like I can't handle more than one. So I saw it. I think she put it on Snapchat or something about how people are always talking about her body, friends and family, fat shaming her, talking about her, about how she can't stop eating, different things. And I was like, a 15-year-old girl is a child. A 15-year-old girl is a child. So why are grown-ass people, pardon my French, or don't pardon my French, talking to her about her body? Why do we just feel that we can just open our mouth and tear people down? We don't even know the struggles. A 15-year-old girl is going through hormonal changes. A 15-year-old girl is just understanding the world, understanding her body, understanding different things, right? And then we now add to the complication of all that by pulling them down and talking about their bodies. And again, as girls, you know that you're basically judged in your appearance. This is the time, you're having crushes, you're just becoming aware of your feelings and all that with the opposite sex. And then you have everybody around telling you you're overweight, you're ugly, you eat too much and all that. Right? Like it's such a crushing thing to think about, not to talk of experiencing. And so I'm going to round up this now because it's gone on way longer than I thought it would. It's because in the other video I said I was going to speak about that experience and all that, and I just brought it out. Then I came across the video and the post from the celebrity's daughter, and I just thought that we really need, this is a conversation we need to keep having. This is a conversation that we need to keep having. I know some people don't know better, right? They will say it's love. Oh, I'm just trying to say, not to a child. Not to a child, right? If you really, really are concerned, then speak to the parents. And if you're not close enough to speak to the parents, then it's really none of your business. That's the truth of the matter. And what comes to the worst case situation, say a prayer. If it's that bothersome to you, instead of, just talking and, bringing someone down. And so please let's remember that the kids are always watching. They're picking up on everything, right? And identities are formed at this age. A lot of us now on social media everywhere, we're talking about trauma. This is how the traumas are formed, even though that is a vastly overused word, but this is how traumas are formed. This is how they start. And a lot of us now as adults are now trying to unpack and unveil that. So why don't we just try not to gift that to a child at this point in time? Uplift with your words. Find with a child, find other ways to talk about their bodies. You're so strong. You're so fast. Do you understand? That is how I talk to my children about their bodies. We don't even wait. Fat is not in their lexicon, because I've been very conscious from the beginning. We think about our bodies in terms of how strong we are, how big we're growing, right? Because we're growing, we're eating, even food. Again, I think we should do a full video on that. So let me know if you'd like me to do a video on how to talk to kids about food, about weight, the right perspective, so that they start to have the right perspective about their bodies and have a healthy relationship with food and exercise. This was a totally off the riff video. If I was all over the place, I apologize because I didn't have notes. I just wanted to come on and share this. If you're new to the channel, I'm new to the channel. So please hit the subscribe button, share with somebody who needs this, who this will help. There's a bell for notifications, I believe, so that you don't miss any videos when it comes on, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Again, in the comments, let me know your thoughts on this and what else you want to hear my thoughts about. I'll speak to you soon.